So with regard to disappointment now, obviously it's inevitable, and I really agree with having a renewed definition of what that means to you. How do we work on that as
I
artists?
think it's about being
What can we do to renew that relationship and refine that?
firstly, I'd say most of us don't consciously live. We're not consciously living. And in fact, there was a research case study that said for 93% of our, or 97% of our days, we are living unconsciously.
What does that mean?
That means that for only 3% of the day, you're actually engaging consciously with your feelings, your emotions. Otherwise, we're just on autopilot.
Wow.
Right? So you feel the disappointment, but engage with it. Like really sit and look at it. Don't just take the first thing that comes into your head, like, I'm a shit singer. Why am I even doing this?
Right.
That for me is where most people go wrong. It's like they take the first thing as gospel and then that's the only thing it can possibly be.
Understood.
That's not, I don't feel that's the way to approach it.
What should we do then? What should we do?
I feel like we need to look at it from different angles and go, okay, so that audition didn't go well, but what did I learn from it?
Right.
What did I learn about myself? That's the
first thing, like actually asking ourselves, because I think it's so valuable. Ask ourselves the question, okay, did I learn anything?
Yeah.
I learned that I'm not good? Could that be an answer, or?
Well, you wouldn't have been there in the first place if you weren't good or didn't have some level of talent. But what it might do for you is you might learn, oh my gosh, there were singers there that definitely were better than me. Maybe I just need to do a bit more work. Maybe I'm a singer, like at 13, I didn't have a vocal coach. So I was going into auditions just using my raw talent. And it was my dad that then said to me, Sheen, you know, I think we need to get you a vocal coach because there's something there, but it just needs building on and developing.
Got you.
Could it be that you're that person? You've got this raw talent, but you've never really looked at like a coach or a really kind of disciplined way of nurturing that talent.
Okay.
Maybe that's what you learn.
That's really powerful.
You know, maybe you go into the audition. I've always been the kind of a person where if there's someone that's better at something than me, I'm always inspired by them. Like I want to learn from them. I want to speak to them. If there's a better singer than me, it just drives me to want to do better. But again, that's my relationship with disappointment. You know, a diamond is coal that's been through the fire in the refining process, but it started off as coal.
Sure.
And then it becomes a diamond. Okay. It went through a process.
So we learned to look at what we asked the question. What did I learn from that?
Yeah.
What else can we? How else can we look at that situation more in depth and more constructively?
I would say that you would need to look at your disappointment and how it can fuel your growth.
Okay. Can you break that down?
So allow your disappointment to become your fuel. Don't allow it to become your hindrance.
That's such a powerful thing, man. Guys, I'm hearing this for the first time, you know. So it's hitting me as much as it's hopefully hitting you. I don't know where you got this, but it's great. Can you please carry on? So using it to fuel.
Yeah.
As fuel, as a launching pad to keep you going.
100%.
Wow.
100%, not a hindrance.
Wow.
And also to look at disappointments as, you know, we keep talking about this process, right?
Right.
And for some people it's a race. So, okay, let's look at it from the race perspective. You're running and it's just hurdles that you have to overcome. You just have to jump over them. But the only time you're not going to finish that race is if you fall down at the hurdle.
Okay.
But you have the instinct to jump, right? And you keep going. Don't stop.
Okay.
Don't allow disappointment to make you fall down at maybe what is just the first hurdle, because I guarantee you, in the process to becoming the kind of artist that you want to become, you are going to have to jump over many hurdles. You may as well get used to it from the get-go.
So it will make you stronger.
Of course it will.
That's a really great. So there's 3 lessons there already. To look at what I learned from it. To look at
it being your fuel.
Being your fuel to carry on, and then the strength you can gain from disappointment, and actually seeing it as a, you know what, this is actually going to make me stronger, and I'm learning something, and I'm analysing that, and it's fueling me for the next time. That's really amazing.
I think we get so caught up in our feelings, and I'm going to talk about the ego as well. What happens is when we face a disappointment, our egos are bruised, our pride is bruised, and that can stop you from humbling yourself and moving forward. You get stuck. Disappointments can have you stuck, and all we're talking about right now are methods to help you unstick yourself. And ego will be your biggest thing that you have to come over, I guarantee it, because all of those feelings of I'm not good enough, oh my god, they outsang me, oh my gosh, oh he's a better writer than me, they're all ego driven. But actually if you remove the ego, it's about, okay, so what do I need to do to be as good as them or to be better than them? Or what do I need to do to be able to go into a session and just nail it? You know, I used to go into sessions and I used to stick a list up in the vocal booth of all the things I needed to think about. So, you know, things like timing, things like tone, things like dynamic, diction. And I would just have a list stuck up on the wall in the booth that would just keep me on track, because I didn't want to have to keep starting over because one of those things was out. If I had it there, it was locked in my memory. Okay, these are the things. Like, humble yourself to find new ways of overcoming your challenges.
And find your own ways. You don't have to do it like somebody else.
No, true.
You'll find your own journey. And I think what you're saying also has a lot to do with having a very sort of like a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset.
100%.
The growth mindset is guys might have read about things like this, where you're open. And you're open to receiving a lot of different things that can move you forward. You're not fixed on like, well, this is there and it didn't work like this, and so that's it. And you know, that's a very fixed way of thinking. But a kind of growth mindset way of thinking allows for the fact that in the whole world of activities and things that go on, in my limited, you know, sphere of what I know in the world, could there be a possibility that there's other things out there that can add value to my little limitations? And the answer is yes, because you don't know what is out there in the world and the millions of other things that you just don't know. And so there's something out there that is definitely going to bring value to you, so be open to that.
100%. And the growth mindset thing is so important, because it goes back to what we said earlier about, you know, don't chase the fame, chase greatness. Greatness comes from growth. Growth comes from learning. Learning comes from a desire to want to be better, right? When you put all of those things together, now you're starting to see somebody who's a really well-rounded artist, internally and externally. And a lot of what you will battle with or face is going to be about your internal being, your mindset, your resilience, how you respond to disappointment. How do you, for example, respond to not getting your own way? You know, you're sat in a session and songs are being picked for your album, and there's a song that you really want and the whole team are going, nah, that's not the one that's going to make the cut. How do you deal with that? You know, the art of having to compromise, the art of conversation. I always say conversation and communication, it's an art form.
Right.
Like, really start to hone all the skills.
You're talking about an internal conversation.
100%,
that's incredible.
100%. Like,
not even just the external one.
No, like, how do you talk yourself out of the anger? How do you talk yourself off the edge? Because there isn't always going to be someone there to save you. Like, how the hell are you going to release your own parachute?
Because you know how many times have people, and myself included, because of an internal dialogue, I've blurted that out to somebody. So let's say it was frustration. Rather than me developing that conversation with myself and resolving it, I've blurted it out and I've taken that out on someone else, because I haven't quite finished that conversation with myself.
Yeah.
And so it's just gone there onto someone else, and you've now affected them. So the teamwork situation now is now kind of like...
And there's been no resolve. The thing about it is, and don't get me wrong guys, the more you do this, the more easily it will come to you, but it's a process. You know, I started to realize all of these things from when I was maybe 14, 15, because of the environment that I was in. I was forced to really look at the way I communicated or the way that I expressed anger. So it's been a real lifelong lesson almost. But See, when we get into a situation of conflict, any conflict, that can be with your management, that could be, disagreement with your producer.
Right.
The thing about ego is it makes you want to be right and have the final say. But actually, the growth mindset should be, how do I bring this to a positive resolve that benefits everybody? Because ultimately, if I don't, we are going to be hindered at this point.
Can ego make you go the other way?
In what sense?
In the sense of, okay, if ego and pride is like, well, I want my way, I want the final say, is it possible for ego to make you go like and not say a single thing? Because there are artists who aren't confident enough to be able to. Is ego just more about like the selfish thing, or is ego also the kind of tendency to withdraw so much so that actually you're just like not even present?
Really interesting question. It's a great question. I think ego is more about getting our own way, and pride is more about withdrawing. Like if you feel like your pride is going to be bruised, or you're going to say something and it's not going to be received in the right way, that might cause you to withdraw.
So that's the two opposite sides of the coin.
I think so, but I mean, I think that's open to people's interpretation, really. And if you guys have a different take on it, hit us up and let us know, because I would definitely love to hear what you guys are feeling about it.
I think that's really valid, because there are artists that I know who I currently work with who have changed a lot over the even last 2-3 years, but back then they would have done the exact opposite. They would have been the ones to just go, oh, okay, not say anything, and literally be dying inside because that producer's going, nah, this is the best way to sing it, this is the way, and they're so imposing that the person just kind of goes on with it and is so unhappy.
But then do you think that comes down to what I was saying about communication? So if the producer's really imposing in that way, then could the artist turn around and say, okay, look, I get what you're saying, let's do it that way, but can we just try it this way as well, and then we'll just have a comparison. And that way what you're also doing is putting a new seed of thought into the producer's mind to go, okay, yeah, cool, like let's have a look at how it might work out. I don't know, like I do feel it's down to communication, but more often than not, people are very hesitant to speak out.
And can I say this, I don't know why I feel strongly about saying this, but to all the producers out there and to the singers and the people that engage with production isn't about one person imposing an idea. A producer's role is to take their wonderful skill set, sit with an artist and actually go, what is your vision? Have a listen to that person's vision and go, right, how about we do this and this, because I've got these skills and this angle and I kind of get your vision now. I think what would be great for fulfilling your vision is blah 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 blah, or this direction. What do you think? Do you see what I'm saying? And then you work together to get there, as opposed to, right, we're just going to do that and it's going to sound like that.
Which is why, as an artist, once again, it's just been re-emphasized with that point, like you really need to know what it is that you want to say, like what you want your music to be about. Like, I'd go into sessions and it was a real collaboration. I could sit there and go, okay, so I want this kind of beat and I want strings in just this section and I want the vocal to be mixed like this. But I had a very strong idea of the kind of artist I was trying to be, you know? So again, when we talk about that process, take time. Time will save you in the long run. It will save you so much time in the long run. Taking a step back and really figuring it out. And if you don't know, then speak to people around you. Make things like, I always advise artists to make soundscapes. Have you ever come across that before? So like you will listen to music that you love and you will start to take little clips. So for example, you might take 3 or 4 songs where you love the production. You might take 3 or 4 songs where you love the lyrics. You'll take another few songs where you love maybe the string arrangement or a breakdown. Put all of that together and play that and start working with people who go, oh, okay, I kind of see what you love. Now let's make it you and fresh. Do you know that kind of collaborative approach?
Totally.
But
beautiful.
Like, I think, guys, one thing I'll really, really keep saying is don't be afraid to communicate your truth. in any situation, I think where we lose out on great work, great relationships, all of those kind of things is when we're not communicating our truth. And remember that truth doesn't mean that there needs to be arguments and conflict. It doesn't mean that. It just means stating something with a view to come to a positive result for all parties included. And when you start to think of it like that, you take the anger out of it, you take the resentment out of it.
Because at some point artistry is going to transcend you working on your own only to involving more people, especially when you get a deal. Look, getting a deal doesn't mean shit. It really doesn't. It's the beginning of the nightmare sometimes. You need, and I don't mean that in a rude way, like what I mean is it's the beginning of, right, now you've got to really cut it. Now you've got to really grind your teeth. Now you've got to really work hard because you've now got a corporate entity that you need to work with. And my goodness, if you're not all on the same page, whoo!
Yeah.
And someone's got to steer that ship the right way. Do you know what I mean? But there's got to be some compromise as well, because they've got some great things to offer to the table as well. And you know, you need to keep everybody in this situation where, in a way, like, yeah, you are navigating the ship so that everybody's role is valid, and they all have, you know, a way of being kept happy. And that's hard.
Yep.
That is really hard. Not everybody's going to agree with some of those ideas, but as long as you are able, with your own logic and conviction, able to say, well, this is the logic behind why I want to do this, then someone can go, oh, you just taught me something, actually, I didn't know. And then they can catch that vision. I've been in situations with the corporate world where, you know, from a vocal coaching perspective, they didn't understand why to make this decision for a singer was important. And all it took was for me to go, okay, let me explain to you from my position why this is important. And the minute they heard it, they were like, oh, I didn't know that. Okay, so what do we need to put in place to make what you want and what I want work together for this person? And then it works out.
And just be open. I think that, you know, we innately have this thing about being quite tunnel vision sometimes, and
which is good.
It's good, yeah, but what I'm saying is that there's a lot more to the sides as well if we just stay open and not like this.
Right, got you.
You know, and be willing to hear everybody out. We don't all need to agree on the same points, but just be willing to listen, because in the listening process there's an opportunity to grow as well, and to learn something. You know, remember that there are people out there who have a hell of a lot more experience and have been through a lot more, that gives them almost this kind of justification to stand where they're standing in the role that they're standing in. And all I'm saying is, even if you don't agree with something, just be open to listen.